When most people think about achieving greatness, they imagine flashes of inspiration, those electrifying moments of motivation that push them to chase their dreams. But what happens when that motivation fades, when the spark dims and the excitement wears off? That's where discipline steps in, the often overlooked yet powerful force that keeps billionaires, top performers, and legends pushing forward day after day. To truly grasp why discipline beats motivation, let's consider the mindset of someone like Jocko Willink, a former Navy SEAL commander, leadership expert, and author. Jocko is a person who understands discipline not as an occasional burst of effort, but as a way of life. He wakes up at 4:30 a.m. every single day, whether he feels like it or not, whether it's raining or shining, whether he's had enough sleep or barely closed his eyes. It's not about motivation, it's about a commitment to his principles. For Jocko, discipline is freedom, a paradox that only those who truly live it can understand. Now, think about the billionaires who have built empires: Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett. Do you think they achieved their status by waiting to feel motivated? Did they hit the snooze button on days they didn't feel like working? Absolutely not. They operated on discipline, not motivation. Motivation is fleeting, temporary. It's easy to be motivated when you watch an inspiring video, hear a great speech, or read a powerful book. But discipline is what drives you when the excitement fades. Discipline is what drags you out of bed at 5 a.m. when no one else is watching. Discipline is the foundation of every billionaire's success. Here's the reality: motivation is a feeling, and like all feelings, it's unreliable. It comes and goes, influenced by your mood, your circumstances, and the endless distractions of life. Discipline, on the other hand, is a choice, a conscious decision to do what needs to be done, no matter how you feel. It's not sexy, it's not glamorous, and it doesn't make for a viral Instagram post. But discipline is what makes millionaires into billionaires, dreamers into doers, and the average into the elite. In our world today, everyone wants quick results. People want to lose weight fast, get rich overnight, and find success without sacrifice. They scroll through social media, seeking motivation, hoping that something will ignite a fire in them. But the truth is, motivation alone will fail you. You can be inspired for a moment, but if there is no discipline to back it up, that motivation will evaporate the moment things get tough. When you build discipline, you create an unbreakable system, a routine that doesn't rely on feelings. You become consistent, and consistency is the true key to greatness. Jocko Willink's relentless discipline is a reminder of this truth. When his alarm goes off before dawn, he doesn't lie in bed, questioning whether he feels like getting up. There's no negotiation with the mind. The decision has already been made long before that moment. He gets up, and he does the work. That level of consistency may seem extreme to some, but that's exactly why it works. It's not about what you feel like doing. It's about what needs to be done. Discipline demands sacrifice. It means choosing long-term rewards over short-term gratification. It means sacrificing comfort, pleasure, and ease for something greater. That's why the disciplines stand out, because most people aren't willing to endure that level of sacrifice. Most people choose the easy path, the path of least resistance, and that's exactly why most people never reach their full potential. Imagine you had the discipline to work toward your goals every single day, regardless of how you felt. Imagine if you could harness the power of consistency, showing up day after day, stacking small wins over time. That's the secret that separates the successful from the rest. It's not a grand secret or a mystical formula. It's discipline. Think about the life of a billionaire, the endless meetings, the critical decisions, the pressure of being responsible for thousands of employees and billions of dollars. Do you think they wake up every day fueled by raw motivation? No, they wake up fueled by discipline. Discipline is what gets Warren Buffett to read and analyze for hours every day, well into his 90s. It's what drives Elon Musk to work 100-hour weeks, juggling multiple companies while facing criticism and doubt. These people don't just wait to feel inspired. They understand that feelings are unreliable and inconsistent. They build habits that keep them on track regardless of motivation. Motivation can be thrilling. It can make you feel like you're on top of the world. But discipline is the quiet, relentless grind that builds empires. Billionaires and top performers don't leave their success to chance. They create systems that enforce their discipline. They don't rely on whether they feel like making a decision or completing a task. They rely on a disciplined framework that keeps them moving forward. They know that the path to success is paved with small, daily, often tedious actions. It's those small, disciplined choices made day after day that accumulate into significant, lasting success. Imagine standing at the base of a massive mountain. You see the peak, but the climb looks impossible. Motivation might get you to take the first few steps, but it won't sustain you when the path gets steep, when your legs burn, when the air gets thin. Discipline is what will keep you placing one foot in front of the other when every part of you wants to quit. That's the reality of achieving anything great. It requires consistency that is often boring, painful, and far from glamorous. Billionaires don't reach the top because they are perpetually motivated. They reach the top because they are relentlessly disciplined. This is where Jocko Willink's mindset becomes incredibly relevant. He speaks of default aggressive, a mentality of taking action without hesitation. When faced with a challenge, his default isn't to procrastinate or contemplate. It's to act. This approach to life isn't fueled by temporary motivation. It's a product of ingrained discipline. When he preaches discipline equals freedom, it's not just a catchy phrase, it's a principle that he lives by. Discipline grants you freedom from fear, from weakness, from the anxiety of uncertainty. It grants you control over your own mind and your own destiny. Most people have dreams, big, ambitious dreams. They want to build successful businesses, achieve financial freedom, get in the best shape of their lives. But most people also quit when the initial excitement fades. They think that if they lose motivation, it means they aren't meant to achieve those dreams. They don't understand that losing motivation is a part of the process, not a sign to stop. Successful people don't rely on motivation to push through the obstacles. They rely on discipline to carry them when the road gets tough. If you look at the lives of the wealthiest, most influential people in history, you'll find that they were not always the most talented, the most intelligent, or the most creative. What they were, without a doubt, was disciplined. Steve Jobs had an intense level of focus and discipline to keep pushing Apple's innovation despite setbacks. Jeff Bezos demonstrated incredible discipline to maintain a long-term vision for Amazon, even when it was criticized for not making profits in its early years. These people weren't chasing fleeting moments of motivation. They built unbreakable systems of discipline that kept them moving forward. The truth is, motivation is a luxury. If you wait for it, you will wait forever. If you learn to master discipline, you can achieve anything. Discipline is not easy. It will never be easy. It is a battle against yourself, a struggle against your own mind, but that's exactly why it works. If you can conquer yourself, if you can develop the strength to stay disciplined when every part of you wants to quit, you can conquer anything. Jocko Willink, a man forged in the fire of combat, lives by a simple yet powerful principle: discipline equals freedom. It's a phrase that seems contradictory at first. How can discipline, a concept that feels restrictive, lead to freedom? But when you understand it the way Jocko does, it makes perfect sense. Discipline, in his perspective, is not about rigid rules and limitations. It's about creating a structure that sets you free from chaos, inconsistency, and failure. It's about controlling your actions so that external forces cannot control you. Imagine a day when you wake up and feel exhausted. You don't feel like working out, you don't feel like handling your responsibilities, and all you want to do is stay in bed. Motivation is nowhere to be found, but if you have discipline, a deep-rooted commitment to your goals, you get up anyway. You exercise, you tackle your tasks, and you push forward because your actions are not ruled by fleeting emotions. Jocko Willink often says, "Discipline is the root of all good qualities. It's the foundation upon which every successful person builds their empire." When Jocko talks about the idea of default aggressive, it's not about reckless aggression, it's about aggressively attacking every challenge and every obstacle with disciplined action. This isn't just a mindset reserved for Navy SEALs or elite athletes. It's a mindset that can transform anyone willing to embrace it. Billionaires apply this principle in their business decisions. They aren't waiting for the right moment or a sudden spark of motivation to make a move. They plan meticulously, they act decisively, and they keep moving forward, regardless of how they feel. Think about someone like Elon Musk. Do you believe he wakes up every day feeling motivated to tackle the monumental tasks of running Tesla, SpaceX, and other ventures? No, but he has a disciplined approach that keeps him moving forward. When SpaceX had multiple failed launches and lost billions, it wasn't motivation that pushed Musk to continue, it was discipline. The ability to stay consistent and driven through failure and criticism is what separates successful people from those who give up. Discipline is a practice, a habit, a way of life. It's not something that appears overnight. It's something you build day by day, decision by decision. When you choose to do the hard things when no one is watching, when you decide to push yourself when the world is telling you to rest, that's when discipline is born. Motivation can light a spark, but discipline builds a fire that won't burn out. This is why Jocko wakes up at 4:30 a.m. every single day, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. It's a ritual of discipline that sets the tone for the rest of his day. When you see the pictures of his watch posted early in the morning, it's a statement: discipline over comfort. Commitment over convenience. That same mindset is what makes billionaires build and sustain their wealth. They don't wait for the right feeling, they rely on the right habits. If you want to create a life of success, a life that breaks through mediocrity, you must embrace discipline. Understand that it will never be easy, but it will always be worth it. The freedom you gain from mastering discipline is far greater than the short-term pleasure of indulging in ease. It grants you control over your actions, your results, and your destiny. The road to success is not crowded because most people are waiting for motivation to show up. But if you commit to discipline, you'll find yourself in a league of your own. Procrastination, the silent thief of success. It's that lingering feeling of "I'll do it later," the comforting lie that tomorrow will be different, that next week you'll have more motivation. But here's the truth. Tomorrow is a mirage if you're waiting for motivation to carry you. This is where discipline steps in like a soldier on the battlefield, ruthless, relentless, and effective. Jocko Willink doesn't wait for the perfect moment. If he did, those 4:30 a.m. alarms would be silenced, the workout skipped, and the hard decisions delayed. Billionaires aren't billionaires because they wait for motivation to strike. They're billionaires because they show up, regardless of how they feel. Warren Buffett doesn't wait for a surge of inspiration to analyze businesses and make investments. He does it daily, consistently, methodically. Discipline isn't about doing what's easy. It's about doing what's necessary. We live in a world that glorifies comfort. Instant gratification is at our fingertips, and distractions are endless. Social media, entertainment, endless streaming platforms, all are designed to keep us consuming rather than creating. If you don't build the discipline to resist these distractions, they will consume your time, your focus, and your potential. Jocko once said, "If you want to be tougher, it's that simple." If you want to beat procrastination, you have to be disciplined enough to start, not tomorrow, not next week, but now. There is no secret to defeating procrastination other than the unyielding act of doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. The truth is, feelings are unreliable. If you live a life dictated by your feelings, you'll be inconsistent, unreliable, and unfocused. Discipline is the decision to act beyond your feelings. Consider Jeff Bezos. When Amazon was just an idea, He left a stable, high-paying job to sell books online. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't guaranteed, and it certainly wasn't motivated by a flash of inspiration. It was discipline that carried him through those early, uncertain years. A commitment to long hours, relentless experimentation, and calculated risks. Now, Amazon stands as one of the world's largest companies because Bezos chose discipline over comfort. The reality is, the battle against procrastination isn't a one-time fight. It's a daily war. The mind will always seek comfort and avoid pain. Discipline is the weapon you wield against your own resistance. When you build habits of discipline, procrastination becomes weaker. The more you choose to do what's difficult over what's easy, the more resilient you become. The difference between the successful and the unsuccessful is simple. The successful execute, while the unsuccessful hesitate. They don't negotiate with themselves. They don't ask, "Do I feel like it?" They just do it. They have built the muscle of discipline so strong that it overrides the pull of procrastination. Discipline is a skill, and like any skill, it requires practice. It means committing to small acts of discipline daily. Making your bed in the morning, starting your tasks on time, finishing what you start. These simple actions compound. Over time, they create an unshakable character, one that doesn't falter when motivation fades. If you want to achieve something remarkable, you must conquer the habit of waiting. Waiting for motivation is a weakness. Acting with discipline is strength. Discipline is the bridge between the life you have and the life you want. It is the foundation upon which all greatness is built. Motivation may come and go, but discipline endures. Discipline often seems like a grand, overwhelming concept. We imagine relentless routines, rigid schedules, and an iron will that never breaks. But discipline isn't always about massive, Herculean efforts. Sometimes it's about small, consistent wins, the tiny, daily victories that accumulate over time to create unstoppable momentum. Jocko Willink understands this deeply. He speaks often about the importance of simply getting out of bed when that alarm goes off at 4:30 a.m. It sounds insignificant, but it is a victory, a choice to begin the day with purpose rather than laziness. It's a small win, but it sets the tone for everything that follows. If you win the first battle of the day, you're already ahead. When we look at billionaires and ultra-successful individuals, we tend to see the highlight reels, the massive deals, the public triumphs, the headlines. What we don't see are the countless days they chose discipline over comfort, made sacrifices that nobody acknowledged, and pushed forward when no one was watching. The truth is, greatness is rarely built on motivation alone. It is a slow, relentless accumulation of disciplined action day after day. Think about Elon Musk. Whether you love him or hate him, there is no denying his ability to commit relentlessly to his vision. When Tesla was on the verge of bankruptcy, Musk slept on the factory floor, working through the night to ensure production continued. Those weren't acts of motivation, they were acts of discipline. The world didn't see the nights of uncertainty, the pressures of investors, and the criticism of doubters, but Musk did. He faced it all, driven by discipline, not temporary enthusiasm. Discipline and consistency are linked. It's not about doing something massive for a short period, but rather doing the right things consistently, even when they seem small and inconsequential. If you aim to write a book, you don't sit down and write the entire manuscript in one night. You write a few hundred words a day. It may seem like nothing at first, but over weeks and months, those words add up, and suddenly, a book exists where there was once just an idea. Jocko emphasizes this when he talks about training. You don't become physically strong from a single intense workout. Strength comes from showing up, day after day, pushing through the pain, the fatigue, the monotony. Success works the same way. It is a series of small, disciplined efforts that accumulate into something powerful. The challenge for most people is patience. We live in a world of instant gratification, fast food, same-day delivery, on-demand entertainment. We expect results quickly, and when they don't arrive, we get discouraged, but discipline teaches patience. It builds a mentality that values the process over the result, understanding that real progress takes time. Warren Buffett, one of the wealthiest men on the planet, attributes much of his success to disciplined, consistent investing. The strategy wasn't flashy, it wasn't about hitting the jackpot overnight. It was about steady, deliberate decisions, investments that grew steadily over decades. That is the essence of discipline, the ability to delay gratification for a greater reward. The key to mastering discipline is to set achievable, consistent goals. Don't aim for perfection, aim for progress. Don't expect to overhaul your entire life in a single day. Expect to make one better choice today than you did yesterday. When you focus on small wins, discipline becomes less daunting and more manageable. It's easy to look at someone like Jocko and think that discipline is a personality trait, that it's something you either have or you don't, but that's not true. Discipline is a skill you can develop, a muscle you can strengthen. Every time you choose to act instead of procrastinating, every time you resist temptation and stay committed to your goal, you build that muscle. It grows stronger, and over time, discipline becomes a part of who you are. Motivation will always be inconsistent. It comes in waves, unpredictable and unreliable. Discipline, however, is the steady beat that carries you through the days when motivation fails. It is the true key to long-term success, not just in business, but in every aspect of life. Resistance is inevitable. It shows up every time we try to build discipline. It's that nagging voice in your mind that says, just skip today, or it's fine to rest. You deserve a break. Resistance appears as fatigue, doubt, distractions, and 1,000 reasons to delay the work. The truth is, discipline is not a natural state for most people. Our brains are wired to seek comfort and avoid pain. But greatness does not reside in comfort zones. It is born in the struggle, in the fight against resistance. Jocko Willink often speaks about the idea of detachment, being able to step back and observe your own mind objectively. When resistance strikes, it's easy to give in because the excuses feel real. You think, I really am tired, or I really don't have time today. Detachment is the ability to recognize that these thoughts are not commands. They're just noise. You can see them, acknowledge them, and choose to act regardless. Discipline isn't something you're born with. It's forged through facing resistance repeatedly. Think of any successful entrepreneur who built something from the ground up. They didn't wait for motivation to strike before they started working. They pushed through the resistance every day. Jeff Bezos, when building Amazon, was not just competing with bookstores, he was competing with the very concept of shopping. People told him it was a crazy idea, that it would never work. There were days of doubt, challenges, and enormous resistance, yet he kept going. That was discipline. Jocko has a straightforward approach to overcoming resistance. Just start. If you don't feel like working out, just put on your shoes. If you don't feel like writing, just open the document. If you don't feel like working, just start a 5-minute task. Action is the antidote to resistance. Once you begin, the momentum builds. The hardest part is simply starting. Discipline is not about punishment, it's about freedom. It may seem contradictory, but discipline is what sets you free from chaos, from failure, from regret. When you discipline yourself financially, you gain the freedom of financial security. When you discipline your health, you gain the freedom of physical strength and vitality. When you discipline your mind, you gain the freedom of clear, focused thought. Take a moment to think about the times in your life when you've made excuses. How many opportunities slipped away because you let resistance win? How many days passed where you chose comfort over growth? The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not talent or intelligence, it's the ability to overcome resistance and remain disciplined. Arnold Schwarzenegger once said that the pain of discipline is far less than the pain of regret. It's easy to ignore discipline today, but eventually, the consequences catch up. Poor health, Financial stress, missed opportunities, these are the costs of choosing comfort over discipline. It is not a question of if you will face the consequences, it's a matter of when. Building discipline requires understanding your weaknesses. If you struggle with procrastination, break tasks into smaller steps. If you are easily distracted, eliminate those distractions, put your phone away, close unnecessary tabs, set boundaries. Jocko often says, discipline equals freedom, and this applies to every area of life. The more disciplined you are, the less control external factors have over you. Self-discipline is also about integrity, keeping promises to yourself. If you tell yourself you're going to wake up at 5 a.m., do it. When you break promises to yourself, you chip away at your own confidence. When you honor those promises, you build a reputation with yourself, a reputation of trust, strength, and dependability. Many people believe that discipline requires intensity, but it's really about consistency. You don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight. Start small, wake up 10 minutes earlier. Spend 5 minutes reading every day. Do 10 push-ups before bed. These small actions create a foundation, and over time, they become part of who you are. The same way you brush your teeth without thinking, disciplined actions can become automatic. Jocko Willink often shares that discipline is not about feelings. It's about decisions. You won't always feel motivated, inspired, or excited. But you can always choose to act. You don't wait until you're thirsty to start drinking water. You hydrate consistently. The same principle applies to discipline. You don't wait for motivation to act. You act because it's who you are. In the end, discipline is a choice. It's not a one-time decision, but a series of choices made consistently. The more you choose discipline, the easier it becomes. Every time you act despite resistance, you strengthen your willpower. It's a slow, gradual process, but the results are undeniable. When motivation fades, discipline is what keeps you on track, moving toward your goals, no matter how difficult the path becomes. There's a price for everything. Discipline has a cost: time, effort, discomfort, but so does regret. The difference lies in when you pay. Discipline demands an upfront investment, while regret charges you later, often when it's too late to change. The irony is that the cost of discipline is temporary and controlled, while the cost of regret is enduring and unpredictable. Jocko Willink frequently talks about the concept of default aggressive. This doesn't mean being reckless or rash. It means taking immediate action instead of overthinking. When faced with a decision, whether it's waking up early or tackling a difficult task, hesitation is the enemy. The more you delay, the more your mind will find excuses to avoid the effort. You must attack the task, take action decisively and without hesitation. This is what separates those who achieve from those who don't. Imagine looking back on your life at 70 or 80 years old. What will you regret more? The mornings you forced yourself out of bed at 5 a.m. or the missed opportunities that slipped away because you stayed comfortable? When you choose discipline, you choose long-term fulfillment over short-term satisfaction. You choose progress over procrastination. Each disciplined action is a vote for the person you want to become. Think of a billionaire like Elon Musk. The man has faced countless obstacles, production issues, financial crises, public scrutiny, yet he keeps pushing forward. Musk didn't build Tesla, SpaceX, or Neuralink by relying on fleeting motivation. It's discipline that drives him to work 100-hour weeks, to sleep on factory floors, to persist when most people would quit. People may see his successes, but they don't often see the relentless discipline behind them. The truth is, discipline is not glamorous. It's not Instagram-worthy most of the time. It's the early mornings, the late nights, the sacrifices you make that no one else sees. While motivation often requires inspiration or a reason to feel excited, discipline demands consistency even when there's no external reward. Jocko says it perfectly: discipline is your best friend. It will take care of you like nothing else can, Consider the athletes who train for the Olympics. They dedicate years, sometimes decades, to training for a few minutes of performance. They sacrifice social events, sleep, comfort, and convenience. For what? The possibility of standing on a podium. The difference between a gold medalist and a fourth-place finisher is not just talent, but discipline, the ability to stay consistent, to embrace the pain of discipline over the pain of regret. Discipline also builds resilience. When you force yourself to do what needs to be done, regardless of how you feel, you become mentally tougher. You learn to handle adversity, to withstand stress, to keep moving forward even when the road is unclear. When Jocko Willink talks about the concept of good, responding to every setback with the mindset that there's an opportunity to grow, it's rooted in discipline. It's not that he never feels discouraged. It's that he chooses not to surrender to that feeling. People often wonder why they struggle to maintain discipline. They think it's a lack of willpower, but it's usually a lack of purpose. If your reason for discipline is shallow, if you're just chasing superficial goals, it becomes easy to give up. But if your reason is meaningful, if it's tied to your deepest values, you become unstoppable. Motivation can be fragile, but discipline rooted in purpose is unbreakable. When Jocko wakes up at 4:30 a.m. every day, it's not because he enjoys it. It's because he knows that discipline is the pathway to growth. He knows that each early morning compounds over time, building a character that can withstand hardship. This is why discipline is superior to motivation. Motivation is a burst of energy, a moment of inspiration, but discipline is a relentless force, an unyielding drive. Regret is a harsh teacher. When you realize that time has passed and you haven't lived up to your potential, it stings. It's a pain that no amount of motivation can undo. But discipline, even in its discomfort, leaves you with pride, with the knowledge that you gave your best, that you stayed committed when it was difficult. Discipline leaves you with results, not regrets. The question you must ask yourself is this: will you pay the price of discipline now, or will you pay the price of regret later? One is temporary, manageable, and purposeful. The other lingers, heavy and permanent. You have the power to choose which one you'll carry. Most people treat discipline like a temporary project, a burst of commitment before a deadline, a sudden motivation to work out before a vacation. But if you want to achieve lasting success, discipline must become a part of who you are, not just something you do. Discipline is not about intense effort for short periods. It's about consistency over the long haul. This is the mindset that separates high achievers from those who only dream. Jocko Willink has a mantra: discipline equals freedom. At first glance, it seems contradictory. How can discipline, which seems restrictive, lead to freedom? But think about it. If you discipline yourself to manage your finances, you gain the freedom of financial stability. If you discipline yourself to care for your body, you gain the freedom of health and vitality. If you discipline yourself to master a skill, you gain the freedom of expertise and opportunity. Discipline is the foundation that makes genuine freedom possible. Consider someone like Warren Buffett. Known as one of the greatest investors of all time, Buffett's success isn't a result of sporadic brilliance or sudden inspiration. It's the result of decades of disciplined decision-making, consistent learning, and a focus on long-term growth. Buffett reads for hours every day, absorbing knowledge when others are distracted. He invests cautiously when others are impulsive. He disciplines himself to avoid the noise of the market and focus on what he knows to be true. Over time, this disciplined approach has made him a billionaire many times over. Building discipline into your lifestyle means structuring your environment to support your goals. If you want to wake up early, don't rely on motivation. Set multiple alarms, go to bed earlier, put your phone across the room. If you want to eat healthier, don't just hope you'll resist junk food. Remove it from your home, prepare meals in advance, make healthier choices the easiest options. Discipline is not just about willpower, it's about setting yourself up for success. The most disciplined people don't see discipline as a burden, they see it as a necessity. They understand that discipline is not a punishment, but a form of self-respect. When you discipline yourself, you are choosing to prioritize your future self over the fleeting desires of the present. You're making a choice to be consistent when it would be easier to quit. That choice, repeated consistently, is what creates greatness. Jocko Willink speaks often about the concept of detachment. When he was leading Navy SEAL teams, there were moments of chaos, gunfire, explosions, confusion. In those moments, discipline allowed him to detach from the noise, to step back mentally and assess the situation calmly. The same applies to everyday life. When you discipline yourself, you gain the ability to detach from distractions, from temptations, from emotions that might lead you astray. You see your goals clearly because you've trained yourself to focus. There will be days when you don't feel like working out, when you don't feel like putting in the extra effort, when the comfort of laziness tempts you. That's when discipline matters most. Jocko says, don't expect to be motivated every day. Don't count on motivation. Count on discipline. When motivation fails you, and it will, discipline is what remains. It becomes your foundation, your constant. Think of those who make New Year's resolutions. By February, most have already abandoned their goals. Why? Because they relied on a momentary burst of motivation instead of cultivating discipline. They chased a feeling instead of committing to a process. Successful people don't wait for motivation. They create habits that support their goals, and those habits become part of their identity. Turning discipline into a lifestyle means embracing discomfort, not avoiding it. If your default reaction to difficulty is to retreat, you will never grow. Growth requires discomfort, the pain of sacrifice, the struggle of persistence. If you can accept that, if you can embrace that struggle, discipline becomes less of a burden and more of a source of strength. When Jocko talks about getting after it, it's not just about physical effort. It's about attacking every area of your life with intention and consistency. If you say you're going to write a book, write it. If you say you're going to start a business, start it. If you commit to improving your health, show up daily, even when no one is watching. Consistency is the heartbeat of discipline. The truth is, discipline doesn't guarantee success, but a lack of it almost guarantees failure. You can have all the talent in the world, all the intelligence, all the ambition, but without discipline, it's wasted potential. Discipline is what keeps you focused when distractions are pulling you away. Discipline is what makes you get back up after failure. Discipline is what sustains you when motivation fades. This is why discipline beats motivation. Motivation is a spark, a moment of energy, but discipline is a steady, unyielding flame. It's not about being perfect, it's about being consistent. It's about showing up day after day, no matter what. When discipline becomes a lifestyle, success becomes inevitable. Discipline and accountability go hand in hand. One of the most significant aspects of discipline is taking full ownership of your actions. No excuses, no justifications, no blaming others. This mindset of extreme ownership is something Jocko Willink emphasizes relentlessly. In his experience as a Navy SEAL, Jocko learned that when a mission goes wrong, it doesn't matter whose fault it is. The leader takes ownership. The leader is accountable. He applies the same principle to personal discipline. If your life isn't where you want it to be, you own that. If your health is failing, if your relationships are broken, if your finances are a mess, it may not be entirely your fault, but it is your responsibility. This level of accountability can feel harsh, even overwhelming, but it's also incredibly empowering. When you take ownership, you take back control. You stop waiting for someone else to fix your problems or for the circumstances to change. You take responsibility, and in doing so, you reclaim your power. Discipline, then, is not just about doing the hard things consistently. It's about owning the results of your choices, both good and bad. When you lack discipline, it's easy to blame your circumstances. It's easy to say that life is unfair, that you weren't given the right opportunities, that others had it easier. But discipline and ownership mean rejecting excuses and focusing on what you can control. If you want to be healthier, own your diet and exercise habits. If you want financial security, own your spending, your saving, and your investment decisions. If you want stronger relationships, own the way you communicate and prioritize the people who matter. There is a powerful connection between ownership and freedom. When you take responsibility for your actions, you also gain the ability to change your circumstances. If you acknowledge that your lack of progress is due to a lack of discipline, you can change that. You can decide today to commit to the work, to show up every day, to push through the resistance. The moment you take ownership, your excuses lose their power. Jocko often says, "Good, it's a simple response, but it carries a world of meaning." When challenges arise, when setbacks occur, when plans fail, Jocko's response is, "Good." Why? Because it means there's an opportunity to learn, to grow, to strengthen discipline. If you face an obstacle, good. It's a chance to develop resilience. If you fail, good. It's a chance to learn from your mistakes. This perspective shifts your mindset from victimhood to power, from excuses to ownership. This mentality is crucial for discipline because there will always be reasons not to follow through. There will always be obstacles, always setbacks. The disciplined person doesn't seek a perfect path. They learn to navigate the imperfect path with unwavering commitment. They understand that success is not a straight line, it's a series of failures, adjustments, and relentless effort. Think of entrepreneurs who built businesses from nothing, people like Elon Musk. Regardless of what you think about Musk, his willingness to take responsibility for his decisions is undeniable. When SpaceX rockets exploded on the launch pad, Musk didn't blame his team. He took responsibility. He didn't make excuses. He doubled down, learned from the failures, and improved. Today, SpaceX is a leader in space exploration because of that relentless discipline, accountability, and ownership. Discipline is the ability to keep promises to yourself. It's easy to keep promises to others because of the pressure of external accountability. You don't want to let your friends down, your family down, your colleagues down. But discipline requires that you hold yourself to that same standard. If you say you're going to wake up early, if you say you're going to exercise, if you say you're going to build that business or write that book, your discipline is measured by your ability to honor those commitments to yourself. When you break a promise to yourself, it doesn't just damage your progress, it damages your self-respect. Over time, you lose trust in yourself. You start to believe that your own words don't matter. Discipline, then, is not just about achieving external success. It's about maintaining internal integrity. It's about having the strength to be accountable, to hold yourself to a higher standard, even when no one is watching. Jocko Willink is not disciplined for the approval of others. He doesn't wake up before dawn for applause or recognition. He does it because discipline is a core value. It's who he is, not just what he does. And that's the difference between those who achieve great things and those who only dream. The truly disciplined don't rely on motivation or external validation. They take ownership of their actions, accept the consequences, and keep moving forward. Ownership and accountability are not burdens, they are the keys to freedom. When you take full responsibility for your actions, you also gain the power to change. When you stop making excuses, you remove the limits on your growth. This is why discipline beats motivation, because motivation is fleeting, but ownership is a choice you make every single day. If there's one thing that separates those who achieve extraordinary success from those who don't, it's consistency. Motivation is the spark that gets you started, but discipline is the fuel that keeps you going. The reason so many people fail to achieve their goals is because they rely too heavily on motivation to push them forward. The moment motivation fades, so does their drive. They get distracted, they give up, and their dreams remain unfulfilled. But those who possess discipline understand that success is not about momentary bursts of energy, It's about showing up every day, doing the work, and being consistent no matter how you feel. Jocko Willink is a perfect example of this. He doesn't rely on motivation to get through his day. For him, discipline is the foundation of everything he does. Whether it's waking up early, working out, or taking on a new project, Jocko knows that success is built on consistent action. The secret to his success and the secret to yours is doing the hard work every day, even when it's uncomfortable. It's easy to look at successful people and think they have some kind of magic formula, that they are more motivated or talented than everyone else. The truth is, they just outlast the competition because they show up consistently, even when things get tough. They develop the habit of doing the right things, day in and day out, no matter what. Imagine what would happen if you committed to doing something every day for a year. Not a week, not a month, but a full year. Maybe it's writing a page in a book every day, working out for 30 minutes, or learning a new skill. At first, it might feel like nothing is changing, but if you stick with it, you'll look back and be amazed at how far you've come. The power of consistency is that, over time, small actions add up to huge results. The problem is that most people don't give themselves enough time. They expect quick results and give up when they don't see immediate change. But real growth takes time. Success doesn't happen overnight. Just look at any billionaire or world-class performer. They didn't become who they are by taking shortcuts or relying on motivation. They became great by showing up, doing the work, and sticking to their discipline, even when no one was watching. Jocko often speaks about the importance of establishing daily habits that align with your goals. For example, his morning routine includes waking up at 4:30 a.m., immediately starting his day with a workout, and then getting to work. This consistency builds momentum, and momentum is a powerful force. Once you have momentum on your side, it's much easier to keep moving forward. But here's the catch. Consistency doesn't mean doing the same thing over and over again without evaluating your progress. It means sticking to the right habits while constantly adjusting and refining your approach. Discipline isn't about mindlessly going through the motions. It's about committing to the process and making the necessary adjustments to stay on course. It's easy to get discouraged when you're not seeing immediate results. But when you commit to discipline, you learn to trust the process. You know that success isn't just about one big win, but about the compound effect of daily actions. Over time, those actions will lead to breakthroughs. Whether it's mastering a skill, building a business, or transforming your body, consistency will get you there. Think about some of the most successful people in the world. The reason they are where they are today is because they were consistent in their actions. Warren Buffett didn't build his fortune by making one big investment. He built it over decades of consistently making wise decisions. Elon Musk didn't build SpaceX or Tesla by waiting for motivation to strike. He built those companies by showing up every day and doing the hard work. Jocko's philosophy of discipline equals freedom revolves around this very idea of consistency. He understands that discipline isn't just about making short-term sacrifices, it's about building a long-term lifestyle that supports your goals. The more consistent you are, the more freedom you gain because you're no longer held back by distractions, procrastination, or a lack of motivation. Every day that you stay disciplined is another day that you're moving closer to your goal. The path won't always be easy, but with consistency, you'll begin to see progress. And once you see that progress, it becomes easier to stay disciplined because you've experienced the rewards of your hard work. Success is built on the small, consistent actions you take each day. It's not about waiting for motivation or inspiration to strike. It's about having the discipline to do the work even when you don't feel like it. As we wrap up, it's crucial to understand that discipline isn't just a concept, it's a way of life, a foundation upon which the greatest achievements are built. We've explored the stark difference between the fleeting nature of motivation and the enduring strength of discipline. We've seen how motivation can spark a desire for change, but it's discipline that keeps the flame burning long after the excitement fades. Jocko Willink, with his philosophy of discipline equals freedom, embodies this truth. His life and approach are not about waiting for the right moment or relying on a burst of motivation. They are about crafting a lifestyle where discipline becomes second nature, where excuses have no place, and where the will to act overrides the temptation to procrastinate. It's this mindset that creates the consistency required for lasting success. Consider this: every day, you have a choice. You can choose the comfort of momentary motivation, which fades away as soon as challenges arise. Or you can choose the discipline to stay committed, to show up and push through, even when every part of you wants to quit. Discipline is not glamorous. It's not always exciting. It's often lonely, hard, and thankless. But it's also the most reliable, consistent, and effective tool you can have on your journey to greatness. The truth is, most people will never reach their full potential because they rely solely on motivation to carry them through. They get excited, they start strong, but when the excitement fades, they lose steam. On the other hand, those who achieve greatness are not the ones who always feel motivated. They are the ones who stay disciplined, regardless of how they feel. If you want to achieve the extraordinary, if you want to stand out and accomplish what most people never will, then discipline is the answer. It's the quiet, steady force that builds empires, changes lives, and creates legacies. Motivation will make you start, but discipline will make you finish. So as you leave this video, ask yourself, are you waiting for motivation to strike, or are you ready to embrace discipline and commit to the long, often difficult path toward your goals? Will you be the person who gives up when the initial excitement fades, or will you be the person who keeps going, no matter what? Remember, discipline is the bridge between goals and achievement. It's the difference between a dream and a reality. And ultimately, it's the key to becoming the person you were meant to be. Thank you for watching. If this message resonated with you, don't just let it inspire you for a moment. Let it transform your approach to life. Stay disciplined, stay relentless, and build the life you deserve.